Hello everyone and welcome back to the vast and ominous comic vault. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today Eric and I are going to finally tackle the 8th volume of Ultimate Spider-Man. And I keep feeling like we're not getting through this fast enough. And then I looked at
we're over 50 issues
what
in.
issue we were in on this, and I was like, oh yeah, we're getting past issue 50 with this. So no, we're trucking pretty well. We're almost
Does
at...
that have a name? Cats and Kings.
Cats and Kings, yes.
Not a great title.
No, it's not. It's not great. It's because you could have just easily called it Catwomen and Kingpins. But it's we're about to the halfway point.
No.
Are we not?
Like a third?
A third? Because I thought he died like just after issue 100, or is it
he dies just
closer
after
to
150.
200? Oh, 150. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
That's what it is. I couldn't remember. Okay.
We renumbered, so we renumbered the number 1, and like 6 issues, or not 6, like 12 issues in, we go to 150.
Oh, is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah, and then it's like 157 or something is his death, or something.
I didn't
like
realize
that.
it ever got renumbered until you got to Miles Morales.
Yeah, because Ultimatum happens and they relaunch all the Ultimate books.
Oh. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then it happens again, and again, and again.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least in the 616, that's not Ultimate Spider-Man.
It's not Ultimate anymore.
Spider-Man.
Now it's
God,
just
he's Miles
Spider-Man.
Morales Spider-Man now. That's always what that book should have been called.
Did they finally call it that?
Oh yeah, the new volume's called Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Because it was called that at first, and then they went to Spider-Man, and that got really
Well,
confusing.
it was Ultimate Comics, Miles Morales,
Yes.
Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Miles Morales, but something like that.
I thought at one time the book even in 616 was called Miles Morales Spider-Man. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe
I
right
think it
after
was just
Secret Wars,
called
it was
Spider-Man.
just Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, and that's confusing.
but now it's Miles Morales Spider-Man. So yeah. Anyways, this Ultimate Spider-Man,
Yeah.
not Miles Morales.
Well, and if Miles Morales wasn't already thought of as like the other Spider-Man or like worth that title as much as Peter Parker is, we'd have given him another name by now, like we did with Ghost Spider. Because Spider-Gwen was Spider-Woman for the longest time, and then we were like, that's confusing. Let's actually give her a name.
Yeah, and Ghost Spider's a cool
She got a
name.
great name.
Yeah.
And just the wrong time to get it into the Spider-Verse. Like, if that had happened 6 months earlier, I bet she would have had that name.
Yep. Yep.
But anyway, so why don't you get into this one, Eric? We were a little down on the previous 2 volumes. Like, Venom we didn't love.
Yeah, Venom wasn't good.
And then the one after
Geldorf.
that was one of your
Stupid
least
Geldorf.
favorite things.
Although I
in this
did
series.
like it more than I remembered liking it. Mostly because I think Geldorf's timing was so...
And some of the X-Men stuff was okay.
That's the stuff I don't like. Oh, wow. Some of it's funny.
Yeah.
But, like, when we get to Professor X explaining for, like, 6 pages.
Forever about the whole, the placenta thing?
Yeah. This one, I think, is interesting, because I was going to make a joke where I was like, well, it's a story about J. Jonah Jameson, like, coming to terms with... And it is. But it's also a story about Black Widow. Or, sorry, not Black Widow, Black Cat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a story about Peter Parker, and then also Mary Jane. And I think they're all pretty fully developed throughout.
I think so, too. Yeah. And it's a lot of interconnected, interwoven subplots. Like, I don't think a lot of these subplots are thematically connected. It's just... this series has been running long enough now that Bendis is allowing his characters to just run away with themselves. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a complex world with people having complex problems.
The J. Jonah Jameson stuff, I think, is my favorite stuff in this.
I like the Mary Jane stuff a lot, too.
Because this is our first real glimpse of J. Jonah Jameson. Like, he's kind of just been a cranky guy in the office.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time we've told a story with him.
You were waiting for him to become Ultimate Jameson, because he was kind of just the way you always remember Jameson, but you were waiting for him to have some kind of real motivation for how he felt about Spider-Man, and this comes right out and finally gives it to us.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not too dissimilar from what it is in 616 initially in that Stan Lee stuff, because like he has a whole thing about how like my son's a hero,
That's true.
You're not a hero, like this is just like issue 6 or 7, like really early on, like it's clearly built out.
They even have him say it in Spider-Man 2. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. But that's the stuff that really grabs me in this arc, or at least more than anything else. I just like all that stuff, and Bendis is great at writing all of that kind of noir-y kind of a thing. I like him going back and forth. I like him being wrong. I like that Rob Robinson says the meanest thing you can say to anyone ever. which is I liked you better when you were drinking.
Yes, that was awesome.
That's the meanest thing you can say to someone, at least a recovering alcoholic.
Totally deserved after he fires Peter for no reason.
Yep. Peter's speech to him is good.
Yeah, it is. He fires Peter just because he questions him. About, what was the situation? I'm trying to remember.
It's the thing that Peter just keeps getting in trouble for throughout the entire arc, which is, why does this guy get to murder someone on tape and then get to walk around the street?
It's because of Kingpin,
Yeah.
And boy, I love how he addresses the cynical nature of that. How all the adults just get used to corruption. And one of the best lines in this is when he's screaming at his teacher. I love that scene.
Me too.
I don't know about you, but like I don't think it goes too far.
No,
I
don't.
I really bought him going to town on her the way he did, and there's an escalation.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't start at that point.
No, he gets worn down.
He's frustrated. He's angry. He's like, how come you adults can't see this for what it is, and he says you've just given up. But I think like one of, if not the best lines in this is when he says, just like after 30 you should give up? Just like when does it happen? Did you turn 30 and you're done? I love that.
I like the thing where she's trying to explain it to him, and she says something about like he contributes to society or something. He goes, oh, it's okay that he killed somebody because he does nice things.
Yeah.
He's got good qualities too.
And she's got no comeback.
Well, and none of the adults ever do. Like every time he brings it up, like he's always shut down.
And she's sympathetic
because
enough,
there is no
when she sends him out of the room, you can tell like she's not proud of herself.
No.
In that moment.
No.
For handling that the way she did.
And then Aunt May just misinterprets it. Which I thought was an interesting way to take that. When he brings up to Aunt May, she's like, "You're the man that killed your uncle is in prison."
And he can't say anything.
Yeah.
I think...
And we finally addressed that he feels bad about lying. Because I had an issue with that earlier where I was like, that feels like too far for like lying about your secret identity. He talks about it here where he's like, I always feel bad that I have to lie.
Yeah, I have to lie to Aunt May all the time. It did seem to come too easy to him before. It's almost like somebody sent Bendis a fan letter, and he was like, "Oh, you're right. I should address that." Then he addresses it. You can never tell when that happens, but that's one of those moments where it feels like maybe that's what happened. But yeah, I really like I said how we deal with the cynical nature of how all the adults are dealing with that. And it feels like, I don't know, he just really knows how to write teenagers for the most part. He's been in places a little bit hit and miss where sometimes I think he'll go too far in making people kind of like forcing people to be more unsympathetic than they need to, just to try to write them like teenagers. But he's got really nice nuances in this particular volume, like Peter just trying out words that don't quite fit. You know, when he starts going to Yiddish stuff, I like moments like that because I feel like that's what teenagers do.
The Yiddish thing is a Bendis thing.
Is it?
Bendis uses Yiddish a lot
in
his writing, and I think here it's actually him covering for having Spider-Man use so much Yiddish previously.
Sure. But it feels like a thing teenagers do.
Yeah. They'll just pick something up because they think it's cool or whatever.
And I also like those moments where, like he doesn't have teenagers know too much, but he's also not dumbing them down. So he's got moments where Mary Jane is trying to explain like political maneuvering and doesn't know what words to use. I like that a lot. She's like, "Oh yeah, what is that called?" And she's trying to come up with it. And she's like, "That guy's running for office. He's running for something. I don't know. Like they don't even know what a district attorney does. You know."
I really like that whole scene where she's got like the list of like all of the people that. And he's like,
I like how she wins the argument.
Yeah, me too, because he's like, yeah, I get it. A lot of what good is this to me? And then like
he's
he goes
talking
off
about. We have to provide some context in case people haven't read this in a while. But he's talking about Mary Jane has this whole list of everybody who knows who Peter's secret identity is, and it's a pretty long list. And he's
all of the Ultimates, all of the X-Men, Kingpin.
It's great, and he's like, "What am I supposed to do with this list?"
And then he starts talking about there's a politician running for district attorney, or I guess there's an attorney running for district attorney, who is running on an anti-Spider-Man campaign, and she's trying to convince him that there's like somebody has to be funded.
And it's because he's paid off by the
Kingpin. He's paid off by Kingpin, and he's like, yeah, but who would do that? And she's like, oh, I have this list right here. How convenient!
It's great. And he's like, oh, I guess that is useful. Yeah, it's great. I love all the stuff with Mary Jane in this.
Me too.
There have been places where he's pushed her to a point to make me not sure if I like her. And we seem kind of past that right now.
Well, even in the last arc, she had that whole thing where she talked about how she was being unreasonable.
Yeah. And that helped a lot.
Because the first 2 issues of the Geldorf arc is pretty good.
It's just important to, as I always say, have action and consequences and know that the writer is doing it on purpose and that we're going somewhere with it as opposed to just drama for the sake of drama in a scene.
Yeah. There are no consequences for how attracted to Black Cat he is.
No, well, not yet. I thought maybe down the road there would be, but
I don't think there are.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't think there are. I think that's just a horny teenager.
But I like that too because that also played pretty believably.
No, you're not wrong.
Pretty realistically, and he's apologetic about it constantly. It's almost like his body is doing things that his brain can't stop. Where he's like, I should not be.
And he doesn't put a move on her or anything.
No, he doesn't. But like, he's like mildly flirtatious, but he tries not to be. And then when he's watching her and Elektra fight, he's like, cat fight. And then he's like, I should not be attracted to this right now. And then like it's like he just can't stop his neurons from firing. You know, because he's got hormones and like that's something that we can all relate to. You know,
that's all fine. Going out in the middle of the night for a date, I'm not so sure about. Although I guess he just shows up and it is a date. He didn't plan for that.
Yeah, he didn't plan for it to be a date. He even says like it's almost like an out of body experience where he's like, what am I doing here? You know, like okay, so because you remember that
and he says where he's like what because she's hot and like wears like low cut clothing. I just do whatever.
Yeah. Well, he says because she wears leather or whatever that material is. I don't even know if it's leather. And but he also says like what she just puts a ad in the newspaper and I come running. Like why am I doing that?
That was the thing I really liked, where, so he sees the ad before it runs.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a little convenient. But then when he gets to her, she says she put in all the papers.
Yes.
So that just expedited him getting the information. It's not super, but she sent all the papers, like it was printed all the papers. And when Elektra shows up, I was like, that's a little convenient. Like, that's like the Daredevil movie where they just all meet on the rooftop. And then they say something about putting he's like she's so stupid she put an ad in the newspaper saying where we'd be. I'm like, yeah, she did. You're right. That's why Elektra's here.
Yeah, and Fisk is like, you made it really clear where you were going to be so that I would know you were there.
Yeah. No, I thought all that stuff worked well. This is not
it's plotted pretty well. Yeah.
This is not what a reboot of Black Cat would look like if we made her now.
No.
This is just like super sexy chick in like super low cut leather. We would not do this with her now.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
We also I don't think would take Cat right now. You know, there's a lot of things like that.
You might be right.
And I think,
but it fits here because she's a cat themed.
I know, no, that's true. But it's only a cat fight on one side because Elektra's not cat themed. But I feel like there's a lot of stuff in this that we probably wouldn't do now, and that a lot of people would probably read this now and be like, oh, we hadn't come to some of the more like progressive places we're at now. Like when Black Cat is introduced, there are a lot of panels that are like intentionally doing like really like sensual.
She's really sexy when she shows up. Like it's a lot of bent over angles and things like that.
Yeah,
which I don't think there's anything wrong with. Because it's never.
I don't think it's a problem, and I wouldn't call it sexist, but I could see someone feeling that way about it.
Sure. I don't
think I would have thought twice about it 10 years ago.
No. Well, and I certainly didn't. I was a teenage boy. But
did you have that thought looking at it this time?
It was for me. No.
Where it's like, oh, we wouldn't do it this way now.
Yes, but I guess I knew it was coming. I've always thought about that. I was like, we wouldn't make her sexy like this.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah. You can decide for yourself if it's a problem, but
within this story, we do the thing we always do with Black Cat. The first issue, she shows up. Lots of bad luck going on.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
And then we never bring it up again.
But no, that's not a problem because she tells. Well, I don't know because Peter is there most of the time when we have her, and she tells him he's going to have 7 years bad luck, and then a bunch of bad things start happening to him.
Yeah, but I thought that was more coincident. Like,
I don't know if those are actually related things. I also assume she doesn't have bad luck powers because Black Cat isn't born with those powers, unless in Ultimate she is, and I don't know it.
I don't think we do anything with the bad luck powers later. But like in this first issue, it's clearly like this guy falls, shoots, the bullet ricochets, hits the thing, it's spraying on him, and then when Spider-Man's chasing her, his webbing runs out.
So you think that's intentional?
I think that's intentional. I think there was a series of bad luck things.
Okay, but is it intentional like we're supposed to infer a power from it, or is it intentional in the sense of if you know about Black Cat, you know that's a power she has, but I'm going to write it like this because it's a callback? Like, is that all it is?
I don't know. I don't.
Okay.
My assumption.
And do we ever do it again? Because you're right. When she shows up and she's fighting Elektra, Elektra doesn't start tripping over herself or anything like that.
Yeah. It might just be like
she doesn't start throwing shuriken and they come back at her.
It might just be like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing. Like it's like we know that she had bad luck powers. I don't know. But we do the exact same thing with her in the comics too. Like she starts with bad luck powers, then she doesn't have bad luck powers.
Oh, I thought she was always given them later. I didn't think she started with them. Did she start with them?
I think she starts with them. No, she definitely starts with them.
I thought Kingpin gave it to her later after she was introduced.
I'm almost positive she starts with it, and then we just kind of like finish it out.
Doesn't she take like a serum or something that gives it to her? Or whatever it is.
I don't know what Black Cat's backstory is.
Okay. I know she's not a mutant, and I know it's not like an accident that happens to her. Like she intentionally takes a thing that gives her that.
I think you're right.
That's as much as I remember, though.
But no, I thought I just think that's interesting that we I think the first issue is very intentionally like bad lucky, and then we just don't do that again for the rest of the arc. Also, in that subscription I had that starts with the last issue of Venom, all of Geldorf, and then concludes with issue 50.
Oh,
so that's the last issue I got in my subscription.
Unfortunate.
And they were double shipping at that time, so it was only 6 months.
That sucks. But at least you went off on a high note because those issues are good.
That's true. That's true.
You were right in the middle of stuff.
Yep. The Enforcers are back.
Yeah.
I
forgot we'd had them before.
I'm still convinced that Bendis is the reason anyone knows who the Enforcers are.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because he brings them back here, and they're super fun, and then Brubaker starts using them over... Like, I hadn't seen the Enforcers, like, since, like, Stan Lee. Like,
and then
before...
we take other more known characters and call them the Enforcers in Spectacular.
In the cartoon?
In the cartoon, yeah.
No.
No?
We
use the actual.
We take the Enforcers and make them into so one of them becomes Shocker.
That's what it was.
And the Enforcers become.
But we still call them, Ox and all that.
They start that way and then eventually become.
That's what it is. Okay.
Shocker and Ox stays Ox.
That's such
and
a cool way to do that.
Yeah, I forget what Fancy.
Fancy Dan.
Yeah, Fancy Dan becomes.
Is it Fancy Dan?
Or is it Fancy? One was Montana. It's Fancy Dan, Montana. Yeah, Montana's got the word. Fancy Dan becomes Shocker, and Montana, I don't remember who Montana becomes. But yeah, that's what we do with them. But they're super fun here.
They remind me of, like, Biff Tannen's henchmen from Back to the Future.
Yes. Yeah, but a little bit more talky.
Yeah.
I've always thought the Beauty and the Beast thing was funny.
I wasn't sure about that. I thought that was going a little too far.
Okay, that's fair.
Where he's like tails all the time, and then the guy just belts out Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, no, that's where we're going.
No, that's not where I was going.
I think that's funny. I've always liked Bendis' Enforcers. I think they're really funny.
I feel like that kind of thing just doesn't work as well in a comic book.
That's fair.
But if I'm going to complain about that, I'm almost saying you should never have characters singing in a comic book, and you can't do that because people sing in things. Mm. So, yeah. So that's not fair. But.
There's a bit where they're like, we're losers, man. It's like, no, we're not. And it's like, no, we're losers. I like them as the bumbling, fumbling henchmen of Kingpin that just like, it never works out for them. Like, it never goes well.
And that also happens just as everything's falling apart for Peter and he starts calling himself a loser.
Mm-hmm. And I like how they screw themselves with the Jameson thing. When Spider-Man shows up to save him, then Jameson starts like recording. It's like, so you just said that your boss.
Yeah, that was pretty great. Urich is awesome.
Urich is awesome.
The double tape recorder thing, with the district attorney, or with the guy running for district attorney, that whole thing is great. And then he gets back to the Bugle, and they're like, and Robbie's like, are you recording this conversation right now? And he's like, I might be.
No, he says it's something more like where he's like,
what it was,
where
yeah.
he's like, do you think I should be?
Yeah. It's
So it's something like that. But
he's great.
What I love about that scene where he interviews the district attorney is that he doesn't come there to do a burn piece. It's only
He
when
lands on it.
he sees the picture of him with Wilson Fisk. He's like, because the district attorney says the reason you go after Spider-Man is Spider-Man was accused of murder. And he's like, well, Spider-Man was acquitted of those murders because they found the guy that did it. And he's like,
And he says 99% of the time, if you're accused of something, you probably
where there's
did
smoke, there's fire.
Right.
And
he's like, well, what about you?
They notice
You're
it's Wilson
there with-
Fisk, and he's
Yeah.
like, how does that apply to Wilson Fisk? I think that scene plays really naturally and really well.
And then when he gets back at the Bugle, he has a really good argument for why he went that far, because it was supposed to be a fluff piece, but he's like, the guy crumbled in 2 minutes!
Yeah.
I didn't have to do anything, hardly!
Yeah.
He lost his nerve really fast and then picked up the tape recorder and broke it.
Yeah. And it's a fast scene.
It's a wonderful scene. And that stuff is all, like, that's when talkie Bendis is at his best, where, like, these characters are saying a lot. They have a lot of words in their balloons, but they all feel like they count. Like, there's not a lot of meandering in this volume. I don't think in any of it, and even a lot of the really lengthy narration stuff, I'm okay with. Like, there's that scene where Peter is just breaking everything down and trying to figure out where, where he's going to go and what he's going to do. It's toward the end of this volume, and there's a whole page where it's just text down one side, and I thought it was very readable.
Yeah, I remember turning that page and be like, oh, I gotta deal with this for a second.
That's exactly
and
what I did.
And I was like, oh no, it reads really fast.
Yeah, I forget what the context of that scene
He does that in Alias as well. There's a whole issue I think he does that like that with Alias. But
how do you feel about Elektra's introduction? And
I was actually going to ask you about how
is this where she's introduced?
Is
this the first time we see her? Because it's not the first time we see Daredevil, right? Because he's been talked about. Or did he even show up in an issue? I can't remember.
If he shows up, it's in that Ultimate Teen-Up book that like kind of half counts.
That's what
which
I
is
thought.
The only place we saw the Lizard.
Okay, right. And then we keep talking about the Lizard, but he's not actually been in the book. Yeah.
Also, early Ultimate comics have like this weird thing where like they reference things as if they exist, but then later we make an Ultimate version of them, and like it doesn't exactly match up. There's a thing with that with I think the Ultimates and the Fantastic Four, vice versa, something like that, where somebody references the other thing that doesn't exist. The way I think it's Ultimates reference to the Fantastic Four, but then when they actually make Ultimate Fantastic Four, they're kids and not a team and are created after the Ultimates, so therefore they could not have been referencing them. There's a lot of stuff like that. Like if Daredevil's referenced earlier, I don't know if he remembers that when he actually brings Daredevil in later.
But yeah, Elektra's kind of just a master assassin. I can't find that page. Elektra's kind of just a master assassin. Like, we don't get a lot about her yet.
I don't think you ever get much about her. Like, she comes back as like an assassin for the Kingpin, but I don't think she ever. We don't learn much about her. She's just a killer.
I mean, she's got a cool, no nonsense attitude and everything. I mean, like, I like her. Like, she feels
black,
like
not red.
She feels like Elektra, but yeah, okay, that's fair.
I remember as a kid thinking that was weird.
It's Ultimate, so I never think about stuff like that. I guess the red bandana is supposed to be enough.
Yeah.
Although I will say, I wasn't sure it was her right away until I noticed that she was holding sides. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's Elektra. But it doesn't look like Elektra, you're right.
I don't like... so the guy that goes and hires her has this line that I just don't think works at all.
Okay.
So we keep her in shadow, right? Like, you don't see who she is.
Yes.
And then he goes, you're just... I find you very attractive. You're not what I expected. Really? Like, you just blurt that out?
That was weird.
It's really weird.
That's the kind of thing that you usually only see under mind control.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was
under
really
some
weird.
sort of an influence. Yeah.
For a minute, you would say, like, oh man, you're really hot. Like, in a situation like this is a situation where
it's kind of dangerous.
Thought balloons might be necessary. Oh, she's very attractive. I didn't expect her to be this attractive.
Yeah,
I
just blurted out thought balloon dialogue. You blurted out your internal monologue, dude. You thought it was in your head, but it wasn't.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing you usually follow with. Did I say that out loud?
I'm really glad. Yeah, exactly. I'm really glad you brought that up because I forgot that. Did you have the same thing I did with Felicia at the end of this, where
That she looks like 10 years older.
Yes. I read 2 pages of her and had to go back and make sure that's who she is.
And not sexy. Like, she doesn't, like, the woman in, I understand she's being beat up by the Kingpin, but she doesn't look like she has fun. It was very strange.
But we see her without the wig even before she's getting beaten up by Kingpin. Like, on the roof we see her. Like, walking away or something.
But I think that's in shadow.
I'll look. It's still toward the end. I gotta look for it. But no, I completely agree with you. She does not look like the same person. And I get that she's wearing a wig when she's Black Cat, but she does not look like the same person.
No, it's weird. I also think we play fast and loose with her age, especially later.
Yeah, how old is she supposed to be?
Closer to Peter than I think she is.
It's after she gets beaten up, so she like she's got a hit in the face and stuff, but that doesn't make her look older. Maybe some of it's just the haircut.
Although there was a lot of lines. She looked, you know what it is? She kind of looks like Aunt May.
She looks like a younger version of Aunt May.
She looks like a younger version of Aunt May.
Exactly.
That's weird, Peter. Peter, that's weird. I understand she was wearing... I saw the outfit she was wearing. I get that she was wearing a wig, but Peter, that's weird. She looks like your aunt.
But I feel like Peter has the reaction to her that guy should have had to Elektra that you were complaining about, where he just says, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he should have said.
Yeah, exactly. Did you like all the Kingpin Black Cat stuff, or did you think that was too in the background? That like we just kind of like at the very end, they're just like, oh, your father was a burglar and he was a loser, and like
I thought that was kind of all introduced too late, but then I don't know how you would have gotten it earlier. Because the story is from Peter's perspective most of the time. We're not with Black Cat, and Fisk would only bring that up in talking to her about it. Mm. I think the deal is, now that you say that, I think the deal is by the time you get to the end of it and we have that exposition dump, it plays like Bendis thought we were wondering more about her motivations than I was. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really thinking that much about why she was doing what she was doing. I was glad to finally know why and to be sympathetic toward her, because she's not just a thief, it's more complicated than that. And Black Cat is... traditionally, she does start from a revenge plays, and it is a reinvention of that whole revenge on her dad thing. But it starts as just looking like Catwoman, and it's like, oh, she's got like a whole revenge motive. She's got a reason for doing this. But you're right. It did all come kind of too fast and right at the end, and like, oh, we got to get this out of the way because the next arc's not going to be about her.
I think part of the problem is
I'm assuming.
So this arc starts in 47. She's not introduced till 50. Mm-hmm. She doesn't show up till halfway through the arc.
Well, it's... Okay, but the problem is, it's kind of 2 arcs that are held together by Kingpin stuff. Like, I don't really see it as one through, all the way through it. Like, we don't even... And with the personal stories, too, like, we also don't introduce any of the Mary Jane and her dad stuff until that second part of the arc, either. Like, that's also that second half does read more like its own arc. And the only thing that holds it all together is the Kingpin is overseas because Spider-Man drove him off, and then he comes back, and now he's dealing with Felicia. Like,
I guess it is kind of like 2 arcs. It's
2 arcs.
Because I guess we don't really bring up the...
The tablet stuff doesn't happen until the second part?
No, the tablet stuff...
Any of it?
No, it doesn't. That also should have been in that first part, too.
I think so,
mentioned a little bit, like, hey, we've got a deal going on. Like, just something. But yeah, I guess the District Attorney stuff doesn't play into the second half that much. No, you're right. It's kind of 2 arcs that both have Kingpin in them back to back.
And if Kingpin wasn't in both of them, it would be a volume of this of the series that contains 2 arcs.
Yeah, no, I kind of don't have a problem with that. I
don't either. I don't have a problem with it.
I think it flows fine being 2 3-issue arcs as opposed to an actual 6.
I'm just saying I can't agree with you when you say it's weird that doesn't start until then because
you're right.
It's 2 arcs.
You're right. It is 2 arcs. There's something. Well, we should talk about the Mary Jane stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I want to start with this because I like a lot of that, and there's some that really resonates with me. And I'm glad that I got all the more fun stuff with her right before that, with them talking about getting married eventually and all of that.
Yeah. She continues to wear her belly shirts.
That's true. That's an aside. That page with the 4 panels of them kissing and then just like looking at each other longingly and then kissing again, I love that. Mm-hmm. They just feel like a real couple. That stuff is excellent. It's the one complaint I'll throw at it before I start gushing over the stuff I like about that is we're a little clunky about getting into the dad barging in, because she brings him up just before it happens. Like, Bendis is going, it's been a while since we've talked about this. You, the reader, might forget that she has an abusive father. And then he's like, and then Peter's like, you seem upset. What's wrong? And then he's like, we keep talking about me. I don't want to just talk about me. Let's talk about you for a minute. What's going on with you? Well, if you must know, my freaking dad. And then he just bursts in.
Yeah.
That was a little easy.
That's fair. That's fair. I love the Aunt May thing. When
she's like, out the bugle? Or?
No, that's great too.
That's great too.
It felt really realistic to me, and I feel like I've seen my mother do something like this. I've said before how much Aunt May in this book reminds me of my mother. But Gwen, we're going for a walk, and we're going to walk by real casual, and we're just going to and then, like, if we hear anything, we're going to call the cops. Like, that felt really realistic mom to me.
I think so too. Yeah. And knowing your mom a little bit and having read more of Aunt May, I totally see that.
But yeah, so Gwen's barely in this story. Mary Jane.
I like the subtlety of how she's utilized, though.
Me too.
You know, I like all those moments where she's just in the background filing stuff away. Trying to see if maybe she can do something to help. But then, like, she never like barges in or anything. Like, the story's just not about her. There's no place for her. But I like that we don't forget about her.
It is not a love triangle.
Nope, not anymore.
Like, ever. I mean, because
it starts off like it might be for a second.
And Mary Jane gets jealous, but Gwen doesn't seem to actually be interested.
She has love triangle face until she realizes that Gwen, whether she's into Peter or not, she's respectful of their relationship, and she and Peter have much more of like a stepbrother-sister thing going on the longer she lives there.
But no, Mary Jane. So Mary Jane's father cheated on, or apparently cheats a bunch, but finally got caught on her mother, and is just, if not physically, emotionally abusive. I get the impression that he might not actually hit her.
It's hard to say. Maybe he has once in the past. It's hard to say if it's happening regularly.
I don't think it's happening regularly.
Because I think she would be coming right out and saying that to Peter if it was.
Well, and how she dresses would be hard to hide sometimes.
That's a good point.
Like, she's always got her arms bare and stuff like
very
that.
Specific places. And that's weird, because you're right. You just see her arms in her midsection all the time. But the way she describes it, and this is my favorite scene in this volume, I think, is that he's sad and feels bad and can't find a way to be happy and to move on from his hang-ups. So he's got to bring down everybody around him. And he doesn't have any good reason to not like Peter. He's just looking for an excuse. Mary Jane's getting happy, and he can't handle that in his house, other people being happy when he's not. So he's gonna drag them all down.
And then he makes fun of Peter and
and in the story is coming right in and saying that they can't be together anymore. Because he reads her diary and finds cannon fodder. Where
that she almost died on the bridge, which is obviously the Green Goblin stuff.
Right. And they can't tell her or him or Aunt May or anybody what exactly happened there.
Which I think that might be the moment when he actually says he feels bad about lying, but I could be wrong.
I forget.
Because he says that, like, they were, like, walking and she, like, started to fall and he caught her or something like that.
I really like the explanation for like Mary Jane having a diary, but why she's not an idiot.
Yeah, there's nothing incriminating in it.
There's nothing incriminating, and she doesn't have anybody she can really talk to about it. And
which he talks about was that she shouldn't. Maybe Nick Fury was right. I never should have told her I was Spider-Man. I should have like she needs a therapist, and she can't talk to anyone about this.
Yeah. And it's maybe he doesn't say this, but I can infer this. It's maybe too hard for her to talk to him about it because he was there, because it would bring it all back.
Or, well, and also...
they talk about how traumatic that situation was.
She might not want to make him feel bad because he's kind of responsible for being in that situation.
And because this is... I'm glad you said that, because also, this is immediately after she says, no, I'm not telling you that I don't want you to be Spider-Man.
Yes. I like that conversation a lot.
It's a great conversation. The nuance of...
I would like it if you weren't Spider-Man, but I'm not saying don't be
Selfishly,
Spider-Man.
that's great for me, but I like when she says do what you have to do. Like, I get that, like it's just so sober. They're still teenagers, and they're not always mature about everything, but they're getting there. And we've seen the situations and the traumas they've gone through that are getting them to that place. That experience.
I thought that was all really good.
Which is where he's channeling Stan Lee really well, because the early Stan Lee issues, you're seeing a kid becoming a man, and you very much have that here.
I think this arc as a whole is the first like classic Spider-Man arc. Like I think maybe this is the. I guess Geldorf doesn't have this either, but it's Geldorf, so like nothing happens in the arc. But like, if you were to come in on this, I think this is the first arc where it doesn't feel like everything's groundwork. Where like the first arc is introducing Spider-Man, and then we introduce Kingpin, then we introduce Dr. Octopus, and then we introduce Green Goblin, kind of second time, and then we introduce Venom. And like this finally feels, I think we're finally in a place now where it's like, okay, we're going to bring back some of that stuff we set up before, and...
Yeah, I mean, I can make the argument that we're still doing that because
it's
we're bringing in Black Cat, yeah, and
Elektra.
Every arc...
Feels, I think a world finally feels like, it finally feels like we're living in a world we have built.
And that's what I was really loving about it, is that it felt complex because of all the stuff that, like you said, that it had already built that it's working with.
And the characters know the history.
It's right, and you could maybe even make the argument that every previous arc was somewhat readable without what came before it, and that this you kind of want at least a lot of that Mary Jane Peter Parker dialogue, but it's also still laying groundwork for things it's going to do later. It just feels more involved and like it's a chapter in a grander narrative as opposed to like prologue. Because I expect a lot of this Kingpin stuff to continue to pay off. I expect more Tablet of Time down the line. I don't know if that ever comes back, but it reads like it will.
I think the next Kingpin arc is Warriors, which is not a Tablet of Time thing, I don't think. But it is maybe my favorite arc.
Oh, cool.
I love Warriors. I think Warriors is great.
Well, I'm excited, because I like this a lot.
Yeah.
What Eric is saying, by the way, is that so far, every arc, there has been a reason to make this gesture.
Yeah, but... That's part of what I loved about superhero comics when I was a kid was it always felt because obviously I'm not reading a lot of, I mean, I guess except for like when I went back to like the Essentials, but like when I'm a little bit younger than that, before the Essentials existed, and like I'm just getting comics from like my uncle and stuff, there's always so much history, and I always liked that when I was a kid, was you come in and you're like, oh, there's a whole world here, everybody knows each other. Yeah. And I think this is the first arc that really feels like that for Ultimate Spider-Man. Where like this is it feels like there's a bunch of history now. Like it feels like we've really gotten somewhere.
Yeah, that's a great.
Which is interesting because you were talking about how it feels like we've barely read any of it. But we're about a third of the way done.
Well, I was actually saying that. Yeah, exactly. That I was surprised at how many issues we have read, but that's because it's Bendis and he tends to be kind of decompressed.
Yeah, it's the 8th story, 50 issues in.
But can I say he gets plenty done here?
No, absolutely,
plenty done.
Absolutely.
And the scenes that are really dialogue heavy and go on for a while, it just feels naturally written and naturally plotted. I was actually kind of enjoying how fast issues were going when I was reading this. Like I would get to the end of an issue and I'm like, oh, I'm already done with an issue, and that's kind of an unusual feeling when I'm reading a Bendis comic. But although I guess you do sometimes get that just in, well, we only had 2 scenes in this whole issue because like. People have so much to say.
I did have a complaint. I did have a this is, I guess, minor.
Sure.
So, end of issue 50, we have this panel and all of this text explaining the news situation, right? Peter reacting.
I know what you're going to say.
Immediate next issue, we have the exact same panel. The panel placement, or the dialogue balloon placement seems a little bit different.
It's different.
It's all of the text again. And then, it's because they continue it down to this panel.
Yeah.
Why do I need this page?
You don't. It's a wasted page.
It should be a panel with the last bit of the thing. That's it. That's all you need.
Well, or alternatively, it needs to not have that exposition, it's not even really exposition, it's more recap. It should just not have the news stuff at the end of the previous issue, because that functions as recap.
Except that at the end of the previous issue, it functions as Spider-Man finding out that everyone thinks he's a bad guy.
Oh, that's true.
I think really...
So you do have to have that
all
at
you
the end
need
of that
is
issue.
this picture to be a small panel, and all you can just use the end of it where it goes, a brief glimpse at the terror that stalks our city when the sun goes down. It looks like his name is Spider-Man after all. That's all you need.
That's all you need, yeah.
I don't need to reread the entire thing I just read. Especially when you're writing for the trade.
And this is not a series that recaps.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it actually is, but you don't know that.
What do you mean?
If you have the issues, in the beginning of every issue, they have like a 3-paragraph like
Marvel
does now.
No, I know that because I actually read this digital. And it has that.
Which Marvel does regularly for all its books, but for a long time that was the only book doing it.
But all I mean is it doesn't recap inside the story. It's not that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But the only explanation for why it would be there is if he feels like he has to remind you about all of that.
Mm-hmm. But that's weird because if you're reading it in issues, it does have like 3 paragraphs
that tell you what just happened.
Yeah. No.
There's no reason for that.
There's no reason for it.
But it's kind of like... there is precedent for this, though. He's done this kind of thing before, because... was it Daredevil where we complained that there was an issue that ends with... it was the... Sorry, I'm trying to remember what the
Typhoid Mary.
It's the Typhoid Mary, right.
Yeah.
And then you see it from a different angle. But it's the exact same scene.
Yeah.
And it was
but
really
at least that's a different... At least that was redrawn. This is the same thing.
It's the same drawing. Yeah, you're right.
No, it is the same drawing. No, I think this arc is great. I think it's probably the best we've read thus far.
I think it is for my money.
Yeah.
I'm so invested in all of the character stuff. I like that Peter Parker in this particular arc it keeps taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back, but we get to revel in the 1 step forward. Like, it's not just relentless and your life sucks, and your life sucks, and your life sucks, and your life sucks. It is a really earned moment when he gets his job back.
Yeah.
And I love that.
That's...
Everything falls apart for him, and then when, you get to see J. Jonah Jameson apologize to Peter, and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so good for him in that moment. Like, he has to have places where he wins, because you also have to have consequences for... You have to have sometimes positive consequences for doing the right thing, or for not doing the wrong thing. He didn't do anything wrong. He should have gotten fired. That was an injustice, and that had to be paid back.
One of the things that I think, or one of the things I like is, there's a couple of times in Ultimate where we kind of go to the thing that you think it's going to be, and then we just kind of move over here. So, like, Peter goes to the Bugle to sell pictures of Spider-Man, and then he's like, well, this is what's wrong with your computer. Let me fix that. And then he becomes the webmaster for the company. So we never lay on super thick that Jameson hates Spider-Man. That's not really an Ultimate thing. Leading up to this is, I think he's printed a couple negative things, but he's just a grouchy guy. He doesn't seem to hate Spider-Man. And I feel like here, we finally give him his big hate Spider-Man campaign, and then immediately go, but he's a human being, and he's thinking, and he knows he made a mistake, and so this is kind of it for his Spider-Man
everybody feels
hatred.
like a human being in this, even if they're awful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say, of course, that I like Mary Jane's father, but that all comes from a place. At one time, he wasn't like that.
He sounds like a guy that knows he's wrong but won't admit it.
Yes.
He talks very much like that guy. I also
he's just let himself go to pot, and he's falling apart, and he's I don't want to say reveling in it, he's enjoying it, but he is not taking the steps he needs. And Mary Jane even says that in that scene. I think it's such a good speech when she says instead of she's sympathetic that he's depressed. I mean, it's a depression that he's going through. And she's sympathetic toward that, and she says, but instead of taking the steps to get better, to fix himself, he's got to drag us all down. And then, I didn't get a chance to say this earlier, so I guess I better say it now. And then, just my favorite line from her, when she says that her father should want his children to do better than he did. And he's fallen so low that he doesn't want that for his own kids. And isn't that just the worst thing a parent can do? And that got me in a place, man. Just I really like the way that he articulated that.
And then by the end you have the Kingpin thing where we find out that Vanessa there is an Ultimate Vanessa.
Yes.
And that he's also coming from a place to some degree.
Yeah.
At the very least, like,
thanks for bringing us back to what the original point was.
Yeah. At the very least, he's not all bad. Like, there's a human side to him. He cares about someone and something. And I also like the Tablet of Time thing in that it's a Tablet of Time if you know Spider-Man comics. Otherwise, it's nothing. Like, all you need to know is that she thought it was some kind of mystical thing that could help her.
Yeah, well, and there's kind of a mystery around it because we're not even told exactly what it's supposed to do. It's a mystical artifact that Wilson Fisk doesn't believe in, but is willing to go through hell to get it because she thought it would do something.
And then Black Cat says, "I don't even know what this is, but all I know is that you want it, and therefore I have to take this from you."
Yeah, because of what you did to my dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we finish up, can I complain about an art thing?
Sure.
Or can I ask you if you thought it was a problem? I think Kingpin's hands are too big.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Always, or just in a certain panel?
Just in a certain panel.
Okay.
Kingpin grabs Black Cat.
Oh, yes, and it's her whole body.
And his...
Yeah.
He can put her whole body in one hand?
Yeah.
It's preposterous!
Wow! It's this area.
But the hand
He looks giant. He looks giant.
Look at her hand compared to his hand. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I don't believe this.
That's fair.
And I think it's bigger in this panel than it is in this panel. Like, when you back away from it, I think the proportions start to make more sense, but I think this hand is just physically too big in this panel.
I think you're right. Oh man, you know what I love?
He looks like the Thing. I mean, like Kingpin is big. He's not that big.
You know what I love? Spider-Man Kingpin at the restaurant.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
And then when Spider-Man webs his feet to the, he's like, "Did you web my feet to the floor?" He's like, "What possible satisfaction did you get from that?" And he goes, "See, you understand me. I understand you."
I like Kingpin's like pseudo or kind of faux respect for Spider-Man. I kind of enjoy that. Like, the tete-a-tete they have in that scene is kind of fun, and he's like, "And you're doing this in your pajamas." Like, I like how just totally nonchalant he is about it. Because Kingpin gets that he's dealing with a child, and he almost can't bring himself to hate Spider-Man because of that.
Well, what I like is he never loses composure in front of Spider-Man.
Right.
When he's alone, he'll be like, "I'm gonna kill this kid."
Yeah.
Whenever he's with the kid, he won't give him the satisfaction of seeing him like that. He's like, "You're not gonna get to me." But then when Spider-Man leaves, he's got.
I think it drives him crazy because a kid is beating him like that. But I also think he doesn't hate him to the point that he would like a grown man. He's like, it's just a kid out there. You know what I mean? I'm sure he will get to that place.
Well, and I also like the thing that we do with Ultimate is.
I also really like. Can I just say this? I also really like in Ultimate that everybody knows that Spider-Man has to be a young kid.
That's what I was about to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is as opposed to like early Stan Lee comics, where like no one really like assumes that he's not a man.
Yeah.
Everyone very quickly is like, "Oh, this is a teenager I'm dealing with."
And MCU's been doing that too. As soon as they hear his voice, it's like, oh, he's just a punk kid.
Yeah.
Which
really
makes
like
the juxtaposition.
I also like the identity thing that he just can't keep it secret because he's a dumb kid.
It's
I really
great.
like that.
And
the movies are kind of doing that too.
Yes, and that's
Homecoming and Far From Home.
I really like the juxtaposition with that because everybody gets that he's a kid. And Spider-Man is the most dangerous man on the planet. That panel cracked me up. You remember that? Like the picture of the world, and it's like he's the most dangerous. It's great.
I also love the
and then it cuts to him falling asleep in class.
Yeah,
that's a very nice panel.
Yes. I also love the in his conversation with in the district attorney's conversation with Ben Urich is the how do you feel about the Ultimates? And he's like, well, that's different. They're sanctioned by the government. They have people they answer to. And he's like, what about mutants? He's like, mutants is kind of a gray area, but the president says he's okay with mutants, so I guess I am.
Yeah, that was great.
I really like dealing with mutants in that way.
He's just a politician that takes money. He doesn't have any principles to speak of.
Well, he doesn't seem to like mutants, because I want to say in that conversation he says...
Well, he's also a bigot, clearly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, because he says, like, well, the president seems to think that mutants and humans can coexist, and while I'm not sure about that myself, I have to, like, go behind my president. And I was like, all right. Sure. But no, I think I said going into this that the next arc is a good arc, and I think I was right. I think this is the best arc we've read thus far.
It is.
Which, if this was a movie,
I love it.
If this was a movie franchise, we would have to like go out of our way and be like, I know 8 is never the number where it gets great.
That's hilarious.
But 8 movies in, it finally feels like we've gotten somewhere.
That's not to say that we haven't had great stuff before.
No, we have, because I really like the first Green Goblin arc, and that one right after it, the other Spider-Man with the death of Captain Stacy. That's good.
Probably my favorite trade before this.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I'm trying to remember.
I think Green Goblin's my favorite. The Doctor Octopus one is a little wordy, and there's good stuff in there, but it's all over the place. And then the first Kingpin arc is good as well. But I think this is the best one we've read thus far.
Yeah, it's super solid. Well, I'm excited to get to the next arc because you say it's your favorite. So
next one with Kingpin.
Next one with Kingpin, not the very next arc.
No, the next arc is.
Yeah, do you know where we go next?
I think we. So
I know we're close to Carnage.
We're only.
I know we're a few issues away from Carnage.
So the next thing.
Should I be excited or not be excited about
Do not be excited for Carnage.
It's sad.
But
I want to be excited about Carnage.
Don't be excited about Carnage.
Oh, okay.
Do you know anything about Ultimate Carnage?
I don't.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, I don't remember anything.
Okay.
I'm sure I've been told something I'm not remembering. But
then there's a thing I'm going to be interested to see how you feel about.
Cool.
But for the most part, don't be.
Yeah,
excited
don't tell me anything then.
Because you remember Ultimate Venom?
Uh-huh.
It's more of that.
Sure. Okay.
So it just.
Wait, it's not any Carnage.
No.
Okay.
No.
Is it Cletus Cassidy?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay. No. Does he have no host?
I think he has no host.
Okay.
But so.
You, sir, have no host.
I think what happens next in publication order is Ultimate Spider-Man keeps going, and they do a miniseries called Ultimate 6.
Yeah.
But they're published simultaneously.
I've heard of that. I didn't know what it was.
It's the Sinister Six for the Ultimate Universe.
Okay.
It just depends on which trade order is next. So the next story will either be Ultimate 6 or Hollywood, which is kind of a big riff on the fact that the Spider-Man movie exists. Like, Sam Raimi is making a movie. And I'm pretty sure...
Tobey Maguire is
in it? I think they mentioned Tobey Maguire, but definitely... what's his name? Bruce Campbell is Mysterio. I'm almost positive they did the Bruce Campbell is Mysterio thing in that.
I thought you were going to say Bruce Campbell just narrates the whole thing.
How would that even work?
I don't know!
Bruce Campbell.
Wow, he nailed the vernacular of Bruce Campbell.
I am pretty sure that is the next arc, not Ultimate 6. Because I want to say when I read through them, I was like, oh, this really lines up because we have Dr. Octopus here, and he's also in Ultimate 6, but they act like they haven't seen each other in a while. But it wouldn't work in reverse order either, so I'm not really sure. That's not a great way to read this, because it was a miniseries. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Hollywood is the next story.
I'm
I remember enjoying
even
that.
Put it in the trade order, or do you just have to have it?
No, it's in the trade order, and it's also important.
I'm just saying I'm surprised it's in the trade order, because they didn't do that with other stuff that... Like, they didn't do that with the Lizard thing.
But that's one issue.
Okay, but they
this is a miniseries.
Put it in...
Oh, no, you're right. They could have
trade order. That's what I'm saying.
You're right. Well, and they do that weird Sandman thing. But no, Ultimate 6 is our next Green Goblin story, and Hollywood is I think Hollywood's next.
Okay.
But yeah.
Cool.
I remember Hollywood being a lot of fun. If it's not like great, like I remember being a lot of fun. Ultimate 6 I have mixed feelings about.
Well, we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Well, folks, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. I am really enjoying running through this, and I can't wait for the next one. And we will see you in the not-too-distant future with another one. I was Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Thanks for watching, folks. See you later. Happy reading.